Big news any way you look at it. CNN has a letter addressed to the Senate Judiciary Chairman that Professor Christine Ford wants an FBI investigation into the incident prior to any testimony on Capitol Hill. Right thing to do? Realistic? Let's get a take from somebody who understands this process. Documentary filmmaker Michael Moore here to talk about this contribution to the chaos, as well as his new film that's billed as a call to arms or to action, depending on your perspective. Fahrenheit 9/11. Yes, it sounds a lot like another film because it is. 11/9, Fahrenheit 11/9, the successor to Fahrenheit 9/11.
Yes.
About very different topics, equal urgency. Thank you, Mr. Moore, for being with us.
Thank
so
you.
let's deal with the news at hand.
Sure.
The professor saying, this is my precondition. What's the plus? What's the minus?
Well, generally, first of all, the person who is not telling the truth or is in the wrong doesn't usually ask for the investigation, doesn't usually say, I want the FBI to enter my life and investigate what I'm telling you is the truth. That's a powerful, powerful statement on her part. And actually, it's what should be done. I mean, if you think about it, there's this allegation. It's a serious allegation. It's not just something to just fluff off like, oh, it's just high school stuff. Apparently he was 17, if I have that correct.
That's what we're told.
So that means he was a junior or a senior in high school. She was 15. That means she was a freshman or so. That's quite a difference. And we try 17-year-olds as adults in this country. So I think that obviously every woman who makes a claim like this has to be taken seriously, has to be investigated. If we've learned anything in all these years, it's that you cannot any longer just turn yourself away from this kind of allegation. And I think that it doesn't need to be rushed. It should be slowed down, not because of trying to get Kavanaugh through before the November election. If that's really what they're worried about, what the Republicans and Trump are telling us is that they think they may lose the Senate.
Well, but that's the issue, right? Everything you say makes sense in a vacuum or in a world of only pure reason.
Right.
But now we're in politics, and it's not just about the practicality or what's the right thing to do. It's what's the right thing in this instance. And there's a generation of jurisprudence on the line. And this is exactly what they don't want. And importantly for the political analysis, this is also exactly what the Democrats do want. So there will be this collusion, forgive me for using the term. There will be a suggestion here. Oh, she wants exactly what the Democrats want. How convenient. They want to delay the process. Why doesn't she just come in? She's going to get her day in court. It's not really court. It's not really going to be fair. It's not really going to be something that elucidates the truth.
She's smart. She
That's
knows
not what
that.
this is. This confirmation process is a canard like all the other ones of their stripe. The parties have allowed it to be that, but that's where we are. So does she take the given? I'll give you Monday or you get nothing, because that could be the trade.
Well, what she shouldn't do, and I heard her lawyer earlier say that she's not going to allow when you call it like a court, really a kangaroo court of different politicians going after her. And I think the word that was used was weaponized, to weaponize the process against her, who is the alleged victim. The alleged victim, all alleged victims in our society, when something happens to them and the perpetrator is brought in, we don't gang up on the victim.
There should be a presumption. She's got to corroborate. She's got to show. She's got to make her story, especially in a court of public opinion. But you don't start off with finding reasons for obstacles of entry.
Right.
Fair point. But they say the Democrats did that, Michael.
Yeah, but he also has a right, a presumption of being innocent
100%.
Until proven guilty.
100%.
So he should also want the investigation. He should also want the FBI to go in there and find out what happened. If he's saying he's innocent, and he's said categorically he's innocent.
But do they share his confidence in himself? Do his sponsors, right?
Yes.
The White House, that's what it is.
Yes.
How did they come up with those
Where
65
he spent the
people
last
so
2
quickly?
days.
Right.
Yes.
They heard about this. What they did was they went into defense mode. They didn't go into deduce mode. Let's find out what's true and what isn't. They put together a defense around him. They're his sponsor. They're not a fair broker in this situation. But do they share his confidence in himself? Are they worried that if we give it another week, 2 weeks, other people come up, other things come up?
What does that say then? If that's all they're in defense mode. so they can protect their nominee. They should be just like everybody else should be right now with this. We want to know the truth.
Is that
We want to know
naive
the
given
truth.
the stakes?
It doesn't matter. So if they don't want to know the truth, they want to potentially put somebody on the Supreme Court who, at the age of 17, who was, if he was a senior in high school and committed this crime.
Right.
Didn't you feel, and I've heard you talk about this on your show, and how you feel as a man, and you have daughters, and you have all this, and you've said
son,
these things.
too.
That,
Worry about both of them in this climate.
well, yes, and you've talked about how you've taught your son how to treat women, how to behave with women, how to be decent and respectful. That if if we are to find out later that this actually happened, why wouldn't Donald Trump and the Republicans, they should be at the forefront of this, saying we don't want to put anyone on the Supreme Court either who may have committed this crime.
It's not how it played out in '91. Anita Hill
No, but that was
made a solid showing, and he still got in.
Aren't we a lot smarter now about
That's
this?
what we hope, but look
Aren't
what
we
just happened.
better?
Look what just happened in the election. Not to steal the idea of your movie, but what just happened. We have one woman who we believe could very well be credible on these allegations at this point. I
Right.
can't go any further than that. I have to hear her. I have to see her. Okay?
Right.
Because I don't know enough. That's why we need the FBI to give us some facts. But what have we seen in the election? This is one woman. They had many.
Okay.
They had a videotape
Okay.
of the president talking about things that were certainly of a moral character and standard that your critics many years ago would have never adopted as a standard for their leader. And they swallowed it and they voted for him anyway. Many versus one. Why are you surprised they want to get away from this?
First of all, when you say it's just one, look,
I'm not saying it's just one.
Yeah.
I'm saying one should be more than enough. But
Right.
recent precedent shows one, let alone many, can be ignored.
well, yes, he did say he could stand in the middle of
That's
Fifth
right.
Avenue and shoot somebody and nothing would happen.
And many
to him.
women came forward. One of them has a civil suit that's moving forward against him right now.
Right.
And his party and his voters, his base, said, that's okay. Now it's one.
Yeah, but the majority of Americans didn't say that's okay. That's why
True.
Hillary Clinton got 3 million more votes
True.
than he did.
True.
When it was put up to just a raw vote.
True.
Who do you want leading you? The majority of Americans didn't want him leading them.
True.
So let's give our fellow Americans credit for on that particular issue, that's where they stood. But there are women watching you and I right now, two white guys sitting here talking about this. And I got to tell you, and you must know this, that in your lifetime, how many women have told you, whether go all the way back to high school, where they've told you a story of some guy doing this very thing that's been described by Dr. Ford or
Too
what
many
happened to her.
times.
Too many times of being shoved down, pushed down, held down.
Threatened,
and
worried
threatened.
about losing everything,
And
about
earlier-
being put on trial.
On CNN, when I saw you guys put up the chyron, the type of what she said in the Washington Post interview, that she had a sense that she may die when his hand was over her mouth.
Yeah.
What must that feel like? Because first of all, that's not something you or I have
God
had
forbid.
have had to go through.
Or my kids.
In that sense, in terms of from the other gender doing this to us.
Traumatic enough that a
So-
fully empowered woman who's done amazing things with her life, this was something she never wanted to address, that she said, according to multiple friends who
Correct.
came out in a piece today, that she spent a lifetime trying to forget.
Right.
So this has to be of paramount difficulty.
Yes, and if she's watching right now, what is she going through in this process? Because I just think that without making a judgment, because you and I can't sit here and do that.
No way, we don't know enough.
Right. So let's find out. Let's know enough, and let's always, when a woman says, this happened, let's say, okay, we have to get into this.
That would be great if we were set up to do it. And the only thing we have is the justice system. Because once we get into politics, look at this confirmation process.
Right.
It is all about non-disclosure.
So are you saying that that our justice system and just the way our society operates right now, that we haven't advanced enough yet, that with this issue of sexual harassment and sexual abuse, that we have a means to deal with this in a profound way?
I'm saying that and more. I'm saying that the justice system handles it perfectly. No, nothing is perfect. But once we get outside that, we're lost. We're not allowed to struggle. Because when we struggle, it shows that either you're not deferential enough to the accuser or you're prejudicial to the accused. When it's a close call, when it's hard to understand, when we have to get into defining who do we want to be, what will we tolerate? Because who says assault? Who says that being hurt is the line? Where decency should be so much short of that. You know, that how you treat, your culture, your demeanor, your talk, all the things we teach our kids. That's the line. It's not, it's only counts when it's a crime. That's where we've gotten now. How often do we talk about the president? And I know you address this in your movie in different ways, where because it's not a felony, it's okay. That's why we're lost on this. And now you couple that with the contagion of this confirmation process, where they're all in it for a generation of jurisprudence versus the existential crisis of trying to stop that on the Democrat side. How can they be fair on this? They're so unfair that it's not even a clear call that they need the facts first.
Yeah, but you're assuming then that the Democrats would then want to use this woman, Dr. Ford, as a prop to get their way.
I'm not saying that.
I don't think so.
I don't like how this happened either.
Well, how should it have happened?
You could make different arguments that when it came up, and I understand from one of Dr. Ford's friends, who's on tonight, by the way, it's the first time we've seen someone who knows her this way come on to make the case, what I call a camera case, you know, to the camera, talking to people, get a feel. I get why she wanted to do it anonymously. I get that this has to be painful. I can't process it personally, but I've done enough of this job to understand people in her situation, understand where they're coming from. But she had to understand that it would never stay quiet. It means too much politically. And how did it go from people safeguarding her and Eshoo and Feinstein wanting to keep it quiet and not asking Kavanaugh to it being leaked right here near the end of the process? I don't like the way it smells. I can't paint prejudice because I don't know enough, but I don't like the way it looks in someone who wants transparency. That's why the idea of this being closed door was a non-starter for me. Those days are over. Everything has to be in the open.
I guess what I think is it probably didn't look very good when she was being held down. Somebody was trying to rip her clothes off, and somebody's hand was over her mouth to the point where she couldn't breathe and thought she was going to die. And I have to say, when I saw you put that up earlier on CNN on the screen, I really teared up, and I thought no woman should ever have to feel that way. And because of that, we as men have a responsibility. So whenever they decide to speak out about it,
let it happen.
That we need it to happen.
Absolutely.
Not just let it happen, but we need to have it. We need to encourage it. We need to say, look, we have to be here for people who are abused, and we certainly are not going to put anybody on the Supreme Court where there's one iota of fear,
of doubt
that this individual, from that time when he was first a near adult, within months of being an adult, behaved in this manner. And what does this tell us? And I think you know as a journalist that if this is in fact what happened, she probably wasn't the only one. And someone else out there tonight is watching this show.
Well, look, you know very well that we can't go there. We don't know. Is there...
No, but you know enough to know that a man...
Does criminology tell us that someone who does it once does it multiple times? Yes.
Yes.
Could that be part of the concern
true, what she's saying...
that people are digging? Yes, it could be part of their concern.
So why don't we have the investigation? Let's have that.
I've been calling for it from the moment that we heard about this. 2 points, and then you are a victim of your own success in terms of articulating this point. Because I don't have time now to talk about the movie, but my promise is...
No, that's okay. This is far more important.
Let them... Well, the movie, it all matters. When it comes out and people start to talk about it, which they will, please come back. And I promise you I'll give you more time than anybody else to discuss why it matters.
No, listen, I've been making these movies for 30 years.
I know, but they matter right now. They matter right now. But hold on, 2 points, because I don't want people to forget this. One, why do I say let it happen? Because that's where we are culturally. Of course it should be. No, you don't let them. They're empowered. They count as much as anybody. But we're not there. We've suffocated people who are in that position. So you got to play the ball where it lies.
We've suffocated who?
People in the position of being victimized. Yes, they're survivors, and we should call them that, not victims. I get it. But women who are in the position of Professor Ford have been silenced culturally. Yeah, they have. Correct. So we need to reverse that. And the way you do it is by at least understanding that this must come out. You can't jump right to they get as much rights as everybody else. That's, of course, true here. And it should be true here. But it hasn't been true in our reality. We do the opposite. That's why I say, let it happen. Obviously, they don't need an allowance. But the way our system is, look what's happening to her right now. And the bar should not be that when they've been assaulted, we care.
Right.
That's way too damn high, for a human being to accept.
It's way too late.
It's way too late. The bar's got to be.
When you say let it happen, then you would agree with me that an investigation
100%.
is probably better than let's just have some kangaroo court hearing.
Not better. Necessary.
Necessary.
100%.
Yes, yes.
They don't know enough, and they can't be trusted to do it fairly.
Right. And I know
the senators.
And I know you well enough to know, even though your last name is Cuomo, that you are a journalist, and I've watched you over the years, and you play it right down the middle in terms of you're just going for what the truth is. This is your history. So when you're saying this, when anybody's watching this and thinking, oh, well, his last name is Cuomo, that's not how you roll. No. And you're saying that because you know the right thing to do here is there has to be an investigation. The victim, the alleged victim, is calling for the investigation. She deserves that. We certainly deserve that. It's a lifetime appointment on the Supreme Court. And may I just add this?
Please.
That our president is under a criminal investigation, possibly for treason or treasonous activities with his compatriots. That person should not be allowed to make an appointment to the Supreme Court. The Republicans said President Obama didn't have the right to make an appointment. What was his crime? He only had 11 months left.
Right.
So that's
let
the
people
reason.
Decide.
Let the people decide. Well, I say let the people decide. And you cannot have a man under this kind of potential indictment, investigation, or even impeachment be allowed to make a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. I would say that if it were the opposite, if a Democrat was doing that, we should all take a breath here. The nomination should be removed. The investigation should take place. And let's figure out what the crimes are of Donald J. Trump. And if there are crimes, let's be done with that. Let's have at that.
And he should want that to happen because if he's exonerated, he gets the best kind of closure that he could ever hope for. Otherwise, there's always a specter over his head. So you have the breathless who want this to get done as soon as possible to secure a generation of jurisprudence in their favor politically versus taking a breath and making sure you get it right, and we'll see who wins.
They know the first part of that's wrong, and I know there's enough good Republicans watching this right now who know that that's wrong.
We will see.
That it has to be done the right way.
We will
not see. Not the rush to judgment way.
Michael Moore, you're always welcome. When the film starts to percolate and people start to talk about Fahrenheit 11/9, come back. We'll give it time, and we'll give it the discussion it deserves.
No problem. This is a far more important issue today. This is our Supreme Court. Nothing more important than that. Certainly no movie. There you go.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.